Hello, AHS, and welcome back to the HAWKS cast. I'm your host, Rhea Hawk, and today I'm here with
Seth McCann.
And we're going to be talking about cancel culture.
Okay, so if you don't know what cancel culture is, it is basically when a celebrity does something that's not socially accepted and the fans, let's say, kind of like withdraw themselves from them, kind of like ruin their life in some way because what they
sometimes.
did. Yeah, sometimes. When they don't agree with what they did, basically.
And this has become a lot more popular recently, and a lot more celebrities have it's been coming up, stuff that celebrities have done in the past. And
Within 10 years ago.
Yeah. So we're just going to be talking about some positives to it and mostly negatives, though, because I don't really agree with it most of the time.
Yeah, so if you're going to listen to this podcast, maybe go with an unbiased opinion.
Open mind, guys.
Yeah, an open mind, because obviously if you go in thinking that cancel culture is amazing, obviously we're not going to change your thought process, but,
just give us a listen.
Yeah, give us a listen. You can keep your opinion if you want, but we're going to talk about how we feel about it.
Yeah, so I think in specific situations, it's obviously necessary. Like if a celebrity does something that is obviously really bad, today, now, that's when it's fine. But when you bring something up deliberately to try to just...
Because you don't like them, because you don't, you have a problem with, maybe let's say they're releasing a song you don't like or something, and you decide,
or just if you just don't like them and you just have a really strong opinion on this person and you just want to be oh, I don't want to see you be successful, so you bring up something that they did when they were 15. That's when I see a problem with it. And I feel like it is so stupid to do that,
especially when they're really, really young when all this happened, because obviously I get the idea that people, the excuse people say that if they're young enough to have a conscience, they're young enough to understand what's good and what's bad.
Yeah.
And that's right in some cases, but in the other look at about it, it's kids' minds aren't fully developed. So obviously you make mistakes all the time. Everyone's going to make some mistakes.
Yeah,
and
you want to bring up stuff that you said when you were 15.
Now, if it's brought up and you're defending yourself really harshly, and maybe
which most celebrities don't do.
Yeah, a lot of them take ownership for it, I feel.
Yeah.
And I feel if you take ownership of it and be I was a different person, I've obviously grown, I've learned kind of I've been exposed to the outside world. I know what's good and what's bad now based off of what you grew up in. Then I feel you shouldn't be canceling someone over that and ruining their whole life over something they did when they were 15.
It is so ridiculous.
Now, again, it depends on exactly what they did. Don't just think we're saying they could do something so heinous and get away with it. It's really particular about what they did and where they are now.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of
I
examples.
think it's very prevalent in YouTube now. We see a lot of YouTubers that we watched.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
When we were kids. There's a lot of YouTubers that we watched that were always our favorites. We'd go home after school, watch them. And now throughout the years, people are coming up and talking about them, and it's becoming more...
Yeah. So there's a lot of videos such and such exposed.
Or this person must be stopped.
Yeah. I've seen so many just sit down videos of people talking and saying all of this stuff about whoever, Shane.
Yeah, Shane Dawson is very big on that. When I get his blackface stuff was what really caused him to go under, and some rumors about his cat. That's all I'm just gonna put out there. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. But it's a lot of stuff came out about him, and he posted that apology video. But I think for him, it was a good thing to happen to him, the cancel culture, because that blackface is very bad.
Yes.
Don't do it. And
don't do it, guys.
Yeah, and I think he didn't really take accountability for it. He kind of just I did it. So what?
Yeah. That's what a lot of
He's he used the I was a kid thing, which is I get why he used it, but at the same time,
take accountability.
Yeah, he just goes, I was a kid. So what?
I feel like if you're gonna make an apology video, you have to make it like,
you need to be sincere. Don't do the fake YouTuber cry.
You can't just say like, I'm sorry. You have to like say like how you've grown as a person and be like, oh yeah, well, I know this is wrong now.
Yeah, and I guess like when it comes to YouTuber apologies, like it's up to the fans to decide if what they say is sincere or not. But when you're also clouded by like the thought of what they did, it's really gonna affect what you think about them as they apologize. Because like I could have a YouTuber who I really hate all of a sudden because they did something, and if they try to apologize for it, I'm gonna be like, oh, whatever, that's not sincere, but it might be. So it just depends. I feel like cancel culture shouldn't be something that ruins their whole life. I feel like if it happens, it should only be for like a few years, so that maybe they can
grow as a person.
Maybe they can actually take that time and use it to grow instead of just kind of ruining like what they stand for and stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And another thing is like when you're in the spotlight is a lot different. Like the person you are when you're in the spotlight is a lot different than the person you are when you're not.
Yeah, you're kind of putting on that facade, that like that barrier, because you don't want your whole life on there. And yet, like, yes, you chose to be in the spotlight, or most people did, depending if your parents are like celebrities and
if you're a nepo baby.
Yeah, if you're a nepo baby. But I get like you're putting a lot of yourself into it because you chose that life. But everyone's a human being, and they still want.
Obviously, people are gonna make mistakes, and I don't feel like somebody's like whole career needs to be ruined over one thing that's not really that serious.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think I can tell you guys, I was not a Dream SMP kid. But for some reason, I never watched a single video of theirs. And for some reason, I get all these TikToks about this one guy who's like, Rhea, stop laughing at me.
I'm sorry.
No,
You did not have to bring this up.
I did, because I see it. For some reason, I keep getting all these TikTok videos of all these people being canceled.
Okay, cut to the chase. I don't want to talk about Dream SMP.
The one right now, apparently, I don't know why I'm getting so many TikToks about it, is Wilbur, or whatever his name is.
Wilbur Scoot or something?
Suit, I think. I don't know. He is under fire for abusing his girlfriend. And I think that's
valid.
I think that's a time when cancel culture is important, because we don't celebrate abusers in this area. We do not do that. And I think right, like in cases like that, when it's stuff like that, that's when it's really important. But if they made like one joke when they were like 14 on Twitter or something, they're clearly different. Like there's ways to tell that they're not. And a lot of them that are getting canceled aren't really showing, at least to me, aren't showing the signs that they're still acting that way. Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people, they're so blinded by what they did 10 years ago that they're not really allowing them to change. And
and I feel like that's the problem with it, because people will go search for like hours to find something that they said on Twitter
a long
years
time ago.
and years and years ago. And like, I have posted some questionable things that I would 100% get canceled for. Like, I know I'm not like a person of like, you know, like I don't have like a social following. Like I have like 60 followers on my private Instagram.
Loser.
Shut up. And like I get that when you have a following, you need to be careful of what you say, and like you need to use your platform responsibly. But when they said that, they obviously did not have that. And it's like, you could be doing so much other things with your life than trying to find something that this person said.
Yeah, and if you're like canceling someone because you want them to change, you're still not allowing them in the long run, because let's say they go to a job to try to better themselves. They can't be in the spotlight anymore because no one accepts them there. But the people want them to change, so they like go get a job that maybe you can actually do.
Yeah, people are really negative about it, and I feel like that's another problem, because if you like, obviously if somebody like does something terrible, like abusing their girlfriend, says slurs, like commits hate crimes, whatever. Obviously, that is a horrible thing that people should take a step back and be like, oh yeah, I'm not going to support you anymore. But people go about it in like terrible ways and give them like death threats and all that.
Yeah, that's people
like,
are so like
they're so negative about it. And obviously, I'm not telling you to be positive about that type of thing. But I feel like if you genuinely want a person to change, you can't be like, I hate you, go die.
Yeah,
you know?
But you also need to like believe that they can change if you want them to change. Because like I see a lot of people being like, they'll always be like, once they did this, they'll always do that. But that's not always entirely true.
That's not always true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is in some cases because there's just like ways that you just can't get rid of it. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, in some cases, yes, you do bad things, you're probably always going to do that. But I think if you really want someone to change, you need to like give them the ability to.
Yeah, and not just like overload them with all of this like horrible.
Yeah, because like I was saying earlier, if they go out and try to find a job, and let's say the person hiring them like recognizes them from YouTube,
and then they're going to be like, oh,
they're not going to get a job.
Yeah.
Because, and I mean, I guess in some sense that's on the person who did the problem. But if you really want them to better themselves, they need to go out into the public eye and work in like the actual community to try to better themselves.
Yeah.
And they can't do that if what you guys did won't allow them to.
Yeah.
So basically, you're just allowing people to sit on their couch all day doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And that's not really doing much for anyone.
Exactly. Like, and I don't see what other people get out of cancel culture. Like, again, depending on the problem.
Yeah, because like once you cancel them, you're going to forget about them in like a few weeks.
Yeah.
So what are you gaining from it? Mm-hmm. They're still going to be in the world. Like, it's not like you're getting rid of them.
Yeah, you're just like trying to...
If it's a true problem, they can still commit those problems without you looking at them.
Yeah.
So like, I don't really get... I think cancel culture was a good idea, but it's not executed well.
Yeah.
And I think that's really an issue for everyone else. Mm-hmm.
Like, in the scheme of things, yes, we need stuff like that. Like, and we need celebrities to take accountability for things that they do that are not acceptable. But I feel like we could go about it in a different way than just being like, this person did this, like unfollow them. Like how Noah Schnapp, all of his stuff with
the what was it, Israel?
Yeah.
Stuff? Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a problem, but also like you don't need to send him death threats
over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the same with, okay, before we start this topic, me and Rhea are really, really, when we were younger, really, really into this YouTuber. You guys know her. You might love her. You might not. Gabby Hanna.
Love her.
We kind of, I don't know. We don't know where, I don't know. She she was a really big YouTuber on she was also really big on Vine, if you guys remember Vine, whoever's watching. But eventually, in like the peak of her career, she got canceled by her one friend who used to be on Vine with her, saying that she would make up rumors, start all this stuff with her. Trisha Paytas, who's been canceled probably 40 times, came out and said that she was rude to her too, and then it was like a domino effect, and people started talking about her, saying that she was a really bad friend, she would make things up about them, and Gabby got canceled for it, which I think at the time was a good idea because she clearly has some mental issues.
Clearly.
Very manic sometimes. She goes through phases where she's very awful, and then she goes through phases where she seems happy. She definitely gives off like bipolar disorder, 100%. But like some of the stuff that happened to her, I think, was not the way to go about it.
Yeah,
because I remember
definitely.
The story of this guy who showed up to her house, and basically like she was clearly in a manic episode, and they asked her to use her bathroom, and then would like hang around her kitchen, take pictures of her, and do all this stuff like in her own house. And Gabby obviously didn't like that when she found out that he knew who she was. And I feel like that's just using someone. And that's like, you're trying to get popularity out of it, but you're using someone who's been canceled, and you're like, you know that they're not well.
Yeah.
And I think doing that is because you also don't like them and you want to gain something off of them.
Yeah. And I feel like that's really weird. And if you like genuinely were like, oh, this is a problem, you'd go about it in a different way and not just be like, yeah, so here's a couple pictures that I took inside of somebody's house.
Yeah. It's just so much easier, I think, to just talk about it instead of doing the most. Yeah, committing all these actions and like that are completely ruining what someone has and what someone built. Because like you're not going to want, like, obviously you want them to not do bad things, but you don't want to get to the point where you're putting them like below the poverty line, because like if you're going to be ruining their like financial situation, you're going to be ruining a lot for them, which again, in some cases their fault, but at the same time, you're still not allowing them to get that job that we talked about earlier. And now they're going to be like,
because at the end of the day, social media is most YouTubers' jobs. Yeah. And like that's where they get a lot of their money from.
And you tell them to get a real job, but guess what? They can't now because what you guys did to them. Yeah. And I feel like in some cases that's too extreme to try to prove a point. Yeah. And like, because if you forget that all YouTubers are still people as well, they all have human emotions. They all don't want to be struggling to try to buy a house. They don't want to be living on the streets in the cold. Yeah. Just because of something they might have said on Twitter 10 years ago. And
that is where I see a problem with cancel culture.
And I think as well, the switch up is real. Like people who go immediately from like, oh my God, I love you. You're amazing. You're the best YouTuber on the planet. And then the second, that was kind of cool. The light just turned off right when she snapped. But
literally magic.
Yeah. But then like the second that something comes out, they're like, I've always had a bad feeling about you. Like,
and it's so weird. Like,
and then the second they like apologize and maybe
they're like, oh, I love you again.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, you've done no wrong. Like, we love you. Choose a side. Like, pick a side and stay there, because if you hate them and then you don't, and then you hate them again and then you don't, we can't tell where you stand. Yeah. So like, that says a lot about you as well, not just the YouTuber. Yeah. You're basically going, I support these actions. Oh, no, I don't.
Never mind.
Now I support these actions again, but no, I don't. So like, I don't know. I think the whole idea of switching up on someone that quickly is insane.
Especially like without like evidence of somebody saying something, just like on somebody's word.
People really build their like interpretation of someone based off rumor. Yeah. It's very, very prevalent, because you think, oh, like celebrities, all of them have a big ego. They always think they're better than everyone else. So yeah, it makes sense that they did that, but that's not entirely true. Some celebrities are really sweet, love their fans, do whatever they can. And you're just assuming based off of one rumor maybe that spread like wildfire, that they're a bad person and they will do what you said they did. But that's always not the case.
And then it'll like come out that they never did any of that, and then
you guys try to switch up again.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, yeah, we love you, but
I believed you the whole time.
Yeah, but then you just ruined your like connection with that person, because you just basically believed in a heartbeat that they did something that bad. And yeah, because I see a lot on like TikTok and YouTube and stuff. It's a lot of petty drama that's like
definitely
that should be taken care of privately and not publicly. Yeah, and like unless it becomes a real big issue, like someone clearly did something that was really bad, then I think it should be brought to the public eye. But like if it's like that you made up a rumor about me, like talk to them about it.
Talk to them about it instead of like going on YouTube and
you have the ability to cut them off, because if it's not a problem then, because you're like it's not causing you real issues, then it's not a problem when you cut them off.
Like I get trying to like bring awareness to stuff, but if they just like did something minuscule, like why are you going about it like that instead of just being like, I'm just going to cut you out of my life? But no, they have to make a whole YouTube video and explain to
just for
millions
people
and
not
billions of people.
Now I get continuing on with canceling when you can tell the YouTube apology is really fake. Yeah. Like that Colleen Ballinger one. Yeah. I think it was like Tati, whatever her and James Charles, like those were both fake.
Tati is such a gossip and drama starter. Didn't she cancel like 5 people?
I don't know, probably. And like
the Colleen Ballinger, the apology song.
Toxic gossip. Yeah, I
On the
can't.
toxic gossip train.
Yeah, but like I think for that
was obviously
that one was a very good like example of when you should cancel someone.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of evidence, there was a lot of proof, screenshots, messages.
Yeah, there was like
that she was
literally a
talking to
video
minors.
of her like didn't she like sexually assault a minor on stage?
I think so, yeah.
So like yes, that is a definite like yes, cancel them. Stop supporting them.
A lot of cases where they're like, she's mean to me. She's a mean girl. And then that's like
I feel like that's just petty.
Her. Yeah.
Just like maybe
talk to her.
Yeah.
Or like just cut her out. You don't need to talk to her all the time. Like if she's so mean to you, stop talking to her. I feel like it's not that hard. I don't know. Maybe it's just us.
But in the case of like when there's physical proof of something like that extreme and she gets called out for it and makes a silly little song with her ukulele that is obviously very insincere.
Yeah.
And I don't even think she said sorry in that song.
I don't know. I didn't really listen to it because
I think it's really funny.
I caught it like a bunch of TikToks about it, but I didn't really go on for it because I was like, I already know that you're not a good person. So like, I don't really.
Yeah. Like, I feel like that was just no.
Yeah. And then like, and you can also tell a lot about how a person is based off like, for example, with the whole Shane thing, I personally don't think he's changed that much based off of what he did. Cause like his videos, you can tell a lot of the jokes are what he used to do when he was making skits at home. And you can tell a lot by the relationships around them. Because if you guys were like hardcore Shane watchers, you know that he was with Garrett, with Andrew, with Drew all the time. Morgan, sadly, Morgan has to stay with them because her brother is engaged to Shane. But the other ones, like you see how fast they left Shane when all the stuff came out. So that kind of shows like how bad that person truly was.
Yeah, that's because when they're like getting canceled in like real life too.
Yeah, and you can tell like also with the Shane thing, the people that are getting canceled were Shane Dawson, Jeffree Star, James Charles, and then guess what? They're all still friends, and that also proves a lot because the three people that are getting canceled the most, or I guess James Charles probably isn't with them anymore, but like Jeffree and Shane, two people who are getting canceled all like left and right, are still friends. Yeah, and it's not like a bonding experience. Like you can tell they've clearly done something, and their attitude and the way they act are exactly the same. Yeah, and that's like when cancel culture should be used. Yeah,
and like with James Charles, I don't even remember exactly what he did, but I think it was something with minors.
Trying to like have whatever with minors.
Yeah, and with him, he had the sister squad with Emma Chamberlain and the Dolan twins. So yeah, when you like see that and like they're like real life relationships, I feel like that says a lot.
Yeah, especially because like when they're so close that they're hanging all the time, they're making videos together to switch up and be like, they're
and
not
like
even
never see them together again.
Yeah,
yeah,
that proves a lot about the canceled person.
Yeah,
because you can kind of tell that they saw it too, and they are getting out of there. And that's kind of what you need to take into consideration too when you make your decision on someone.
And I feel like another thing is like people like that, like I know James Charles had like a little bit of like a younger audience, and I feel like posting something like saying about all of these things that he did is like, it was pretty much like, it was a good thing in the long run, because if you like idolize somebody like that and like see him doing all these things and like you don't want to be like, oh yeah, like that, I still support you after all of that. Like I feel like that is when it's like good to like explain to the younger audience that this is bad and like you don't want to like do this type of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. I do really think that the idea behind cancel culture was thought out properly, but then like when people actually execute it, they go to such big extremes that it's not working. And like that's what makes it truly bad, is the extremes that people go out to ruin someone's life.
Yeah. So yeah, it has its negatives and it has its positives. You just like people just need to go about it differently, I think.
And I think it's very situational.
Yeah.
Like, when it's necessary,
it's very necessary.
Yeah, like there's very big chances where it's necessary, but there's also some that are just petty drama that can be handled privately.
Yeah.
And I think knowing when it's needed and when it's not is really going to actually make a difference instead of just canceling everyone left and right for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
So for the last minute,
to wrap this up, guys,
we are going to do some ASMR for you because Swanson says that
we can't make a whole podcast about it. So in the last few minutes that we have, I'm going to
Rhea's going to provide some
ASMR.
Oh, she's turning down the mic.
I'm getting into it, guys.
I don't even know if I can hear that.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, maybe put it really close down. Ooh, that was nice.
I wish I had like a feather.
Swanson wouldn't give us his keys, which was really rude.
That was really mean. That isn't very aesthetic. My bad. I'm trying to like look around.
Honestly, I think you only have beads right now.
I do, I think. Sorry,
Swanson,
y'all.
please let us make one full podcast of ASMR.
Guys, give this a like if you want a full ASMR podcast.
After we just talked about controversial stuff, we're like, please give us a podcast about ASMR, please.
Until next time, see ya.
Bye.